Hi, how are you? My name is Houston and welcome back to another video. Today was exciting. I finally did something that I've been putting off for probably 5 years or more. Every single person, even the most productive people you know, probably have those things that they've been putting off. They could be big things, small things, but I know we all definitely have a lot of small things that we constantly put off, but there are always those really big things that we're like, damn dude, I should do that. I should really just I'll get around to it, right? I'll get around to it one day. Being 29, right on the cusp of 30 years old, I kept telling myself that I need to establish care with a primary care provider. And yeah, I know that's some real adult stuff, right? You don't really worry about that stuff when you're younger, but then you start to think, or at least I, being somebody who's very concerned with my health, I'm like, yeah, maybe I should have this person who I can always go back to, who has all my history in one chart. So, that establishing that relationship is very important. But yeah, I could go on and on about that. Let's get into some Call of Duty. Let's get some more camos, just increase the amount of brain rot that's forming inside my skull. Okay, so I got my 4th gold gun. 4 ARs gold so far, and I prestiged earlier. My initial plan was to just not prestige, but there's no way I was resisting that. So because I won't have the later stage ARs unlocked, like the Model L, the Goblin, and the AS Val, while I'm leveling up, I'm just gonna like start SMGs, or I'll do shotguns, and then like as I progress in levels, I'll just switch back to ARs. So yeah, that's 4 out of 33. I also changed my, where is it here? My player names to icon only instead of full name. Apparently that like heavily reduces clutter because it just puts like a dot above the enemy's head. And so we're going to try that out, see what it looks like. It's very similar to Cold War's flashlight. I went into color customization, and by the way, if you haven't done this, go into all these colors and make sure that they're like boosted on saturation. I don't know why that one wasn't, especially the red one, because that's the one that is going to be above the enemy's heads. And I also changed the color filter settings, because if you look at this red dot here below A flag, if I switch to color filter 2, it really like brings out the vibrancy of it. And, these things are marginal, but it is what it is. I mean, I like it. I have no idea what to use my prestige token on. I'm reading this great book right now. Well, I'm actually reading 2 books. One of them is Right Thing Right Now, Justice in an Unjust World by Ryan Holiday. And if you're familiar with Ryan Holiday, or if you're not, he writes about the Stoics and Stoic philosophy. This particular one is all about justice. This particular book is his 3rd in the 4 Stoic Virtues series. So the 4 Stoic Virtues are courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance. I actually have a whiteboard to my right here that has always been right next to my desk, no matter where I live. And it has the 4 Stoic Virtues on it. I loved Ryan Holiday's Discipline book. I loved his Courage book. And this one, Right Thing Right Now, is, well, it's very timely for one. Oh my God, wait, what's wrong with my FOV? What the hell's going on? Did my graphics reset? That was insane. Almost made me sick. For pretty much all my life, I've always wondered what the right thing to do was. And I think that's one of the reasons why this book in particular, out of the other 3, or sorry, the other 2 that I've read, is really striking a chord in me. Some people will ask like, well, how do you know what's right? And then others might ask, who decides what's right? Or decides, sorry. Oh my God, great accuracy. Thank you, teammate. I'm wondering about those things. It's obviously very difficult because you have to think about the world that you exist in, the world that, you didn't ask to be in, and the way that you treat people and the way that other people treat you. And it's, it can be very difficult to be a really good person in a world that you feel is unjust or unfair. To me, some things that no matter what are right are like helping the weak, helping the disenfranchised, standing up for the little guy, not letting the powerful trample over the little guy. There's always going to be a little guy in history. We're never all going to be the most powerful or in that most powerful position. One of the things that makes people of history so admirable to me is the fact that they were able to stop themselves, step out of their own body, and realize that even if they never acted like this before, they need to shift gears and they need to start standing up for the people that have always been on the weaker side. Oh, also, I do want to say thank you for the response on my last video, the me finding peace, even though it kind of doesn't really have to do with what I was talking about. It makes me so happy to see that the things that I'm saying are resonating with people and people are, you know, coming along for the ride. I really do think of it as a responsibility to really try and like cut through all the bullshit online in order to provide something of value for people. And I'm not the only one doing that online, but I think that if I can be one of those people, if I can be part of that 1% in the 99% of bullshit, then that's what I really want to try and do. That's the stuff that really makes me feel like I'm making a difference in the world. That's the stuff that makes me feel like I am doing the right thing. That actually brings me to the second book that I'm reading right now, and it's Nexus by Yuval Noah Harari. If you've never heard of Yuval Noah Harari, you have probably heard of his most famous book called Sapiens, which is one of those books that I have reread many, many times. For the uninitiated, it's basically a history of Homo sapiens and just humankind, how we got smart, how we started to dominate the planet. And it really is a fantastic book. I'm actually not sure if it's like really outdated at this point, but it is still a really enjoyable book. I kind of just recently skimmed through it, but unfortunately, it's one of those books that like bro culture and hustle culture is also obsessed with, which I'm not really a fan of. But, you know, what are you going to do? I think the book is pretty good, but I'm not going to act like it's this like Bible for, I don't know, like humanity or something like that. So after Sapiens, Yuval released a book called Homo Deus, which was, instead of humanity and where we came from and where we are now, it's about humanity and where we're going. So how technology is affecting us, how we're going to sort of like integrate with technology in the future. He released another book in the middle of that called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, but that one is more about just like some introspection that one could do on the place that humanity's at and kind of like how we can solve problems in the world. Nexus, though, is all about information and information networks and how we as people are basically who we are and so unique because we're able to create information networks. It really is a wonderful book so far, and it's making me think a lot about not only the type of information I consume, but how much I consume on a daily basis. He likens information in a way to food, and how nobody would ever tell you that you should just keep eating more food because more food is better. You know, you'd be in a caloric surplus, you'd end up obese, like, you know, 40% of Americans. And the same thing can be said about information. Information is like the diet of the brain. Just because you're getting a ton of information doesn't mean you're going to, you know, understand everything, or you're going to become smarter or have more wisdom. Yeah, I've just been thinking about that a lot because I am really concerned with not only like what I am consuming myself, but how I am adding to the bullshit on the internet, like to the information. So when I think about my videos and the things that I'm saying, if I don't think that I'm providing enough value for people and it's not resonating, then I think that I'm falling into that trap. Like the things that I'm creating are just more noise and they're not a signal that people can pick up on. Everybody wants to think that the thing they're saying is really important. And I'm not saying that I'm like some special case or enlightened beyond anybody else. There just seems to be a lot of things that are being said that are just for grandstanding, just for money, just for reactions. I mean, look at the amount of rage bait that's online. It's kind of insane, really, how much people will go out of their way just to, I mean, will clip farm on stream or be a contrarian for the sake of increasing negative discourse. It's really sad because our greatest power as human beings, as Homo sapiens, is our ability to converse and work together in large numbers. You know, like that's the only reason that we've dominated the planet for so long. And if we can't talk about things, and if we can't work together, or if we can't have productive conversations, and instead we look at the world through a cynical point of view and kind of forget how to be sincere, then I think that that really is the I mean, that's the nail in the coffin for us, to be honest. Sincerity is very special because I think that it's one of those things that is very difficult to fake. We have this interesting ability to sort of like spot when people aren't being genuine. And obviously we're not right all the time, but it is interesting to think about how many people have given off weird vibes to a large amount of people, and then it turns out that they're actually like somebody who's a horrible person. The cynical people of the world will tell you that the world is horrible, the people are getting worse, but I'm a firm believer, and I pretty much always have been, except for this brief stint of nihilism in my life. Most people are good. Most people are willing to do good. Most people are willing to engage in good faith conversations. And really, you don't have to be a great person. You just have to be a good person for a extended period of time. It's like donating $5 to charity every single day. You know, or even $1 to charity every single day. Yeah, I mean, it's just $1, but $1 every single day is $365 a year, and multiply that over a lifetime. That's how easy it is to account for small things like being a decent person, stacking up, and really creating a better place for everybody around you and yourself to live in. There was this great quote I heard in the book when I was listening to it earlier while cooking dinner, and it was about how being a good person and doing the right thing is like turning on a small light in a dark room. It might not seem like a lot because it's a small light in a very large dark room, but that's what it's like to spread goodness and to do the right thing, especially in a place where it feels like it's the hardest to do the right thing. Because the hardest time to still be a decent person is when you're stressed, is when you're tired, is when you really don't want to be. But those are also the times when it really matters most, because those are the times when your character is tested. The world and its problems can feel like that dark room a lot of the time. And we think to ourselves, well, I can't save the world. I can't illuminate this whole entire room. But the point isn't to save the world. It's just to not be a part of the problem. And to me, if enough people strive to not be a part of the problem, then that exactly, with collective action, is what essentially saves the world. And you could choose any definition you want for save. So it could be to like end war, it could be to end poverty. It's really up to you. And you know, it really isn't that difficult to be decent either. Most people are really just in their own heads most of the time, and that's fine. You know, life is difficult. Every single person has power to spread a little bit of decency, do a little bit of good. When you learn something that you think is valuable, that you think can make the world a better place, give that gift of knowledge to people. There isn't very much virtue in finding out something advantageous and only keeping it for yourself. No gatekeeping here. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you on the next one.